Hi, my name is Lori, and this is my beloved Great Dane, Truman. Truman died tragically in 2009, and it's all my fault. You're about to discover the truth about commercial dog food that's causing thousands of dogs around the world to die well before their natural time. I know because it happened to me. First, I want to tell you I wasn't always an expert on nutrition for pets. I wasn't always lucky enough to work side by side with 3 veterinarians. Sadly, back then, I hadn't read even one article on dog nutrition. And I certainly hadn't completed thousands of hours of research on how dog food is really made. Quite frankly, the world wasn't there yet. It was 2002, and I just bought my first Great Dane puppy. I was so excited. The first few years of his life went great. He seemed like any other dog, really. He's a little bit unusual traits as far as having a dry coat and some hot spots. And maybe he lacked a little bit of energy for such a young dog. We just thought maybe he was a little lazy. You know what I mean? We probably loved him even a little more for it. And one day, when Truman was playing with my son Brooks, I noticed he was slightly limping and had a really small bump on his leg. So I took him to the vet, and really, I wasn't that worried until I saw the look on my vet's face. He obviously knew something I didn't. The moment I saw his face, my stomach twisted in knots. It was horrible. I remember him looking at me and he said, "Lori, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but Truman has carcinoma in his leg." At that point, I wasn't even sure what that was. He then went on to say, "The good news is it's not in his bloodstream. The bad news is it's on his front leg and it's going to continue to get worse. The only options we have are removing his leg," I was horrified, "or giving him radiation and or chemotherapy." Now, having lost my mom to leukemia, I kind of knew what that was going to look like. And let me tell you, it's not pretty. He cautioned, "Those are typically very painful and don't give great results." Having lost my mom at 19, I pretty much know that. So at this point, my heart's pounding in my chest. I'm devastated. And it only got worse when he said, "Normally I'd recommend removing his leg, but with his size and the fact that 80% of his weight is on his front legs, I can't promise you'd even be able to walk if we did that either." I think you can imagine. I was so upset. My love and joy was just given a death sentence in my mind. Even now, it makes me sick to think about it. Either we remove his leg and see what happens, or we choose to put him down. On top of all of this, I was pregnant with twin boys. Yes, at the ripe old age of 38. And with my hormones raging, I was an emotional mess. I didn't know what the right thing was to do. Finally, I just did what most any mother would do. Anything I could to save my baby's life. Promising myself if he seemed to be in any pain, I'd help ease his way out of his body no matter how hard it was for me. Then we removed his leg and we waited, praying for the very best. It was one of the darkest periods in my life. I kept wondering, had I just sentenced my beloved to an even more painful life? I wasn't sure if it was selfish of me or not. All I knew is I believed I owed it to him to try. You know what I mean? And a few weeks later, we got our miracle. To see an oversized Great Dane racing across the front lawn on 3 legs, well, unless he was bounding towards you, which was a little scary, I have to admit. Let's just say those brakes didn't work like they used to. Yet Truman being on 3 legs didn't matter to us, and it didn't seem to matter to him either. He did great. It's amazing what your dog will overcome to stay with you. Eventually, though, it became too much. With too much weight on his right front leg causing too much strain on his neck, he developed a really painful bone spur about 7 months later. And it became nearly impossible for him to walk because he was in so much pain. Devastated, I accepted I had to say goodbye to the best friend I'd ever had. To this day, I still tear up when I think about Truman. If you've ever had to put your dog down before, I know you know what I'm talking about. Even if you haven't, I'm sure you can imagine how traumatic it would be. It's awful. Not a day goes by when I don't think about Truman. He changed my life, and that's why I vowed to make it my life's work to honor him. I want to reach out to as many people as I possibly can to help them, so this doesn't happen to them, so it doesn't happen to you. Now, I'm not sure I can say if I knew then what I know now, it would have changed things. God's will is God's will, and I'm not embarrassed to say that I do believe in a higher power, especially when it comes to the gift of animal companionship. However, in that same vein, I know now I wasn't following the best plan back then. And I'd also tell you why I can't go back in time and know for sure. I do wish someone would have shown me a better way. And that's why I made this free presentation. I want your dog to have the best chance to live his longest, happiest, and most healthy life. Yet, but before we discuss that, let me ask you this. Did you know that your dog is 4 times more likely to die of breast cancer than you are, 8 times more likely to die of bone cancer than you are, and get this, your dog is 35 times more likely to die of skin cancer than you are? They have fur? I found this unbelievable. And as unbelievable as that may sound, it's absolutely true. The number of dogs for dying from cancer is rising. 12 million dogs and cats are diagnosed with cancer every year. Considering 30 years ago, dogs were not dying in droves from cancer, liver, and kidney disease, well, I think you could say this is a relatively new phenomenon. One that sadly is almost expected today. And now, many scientists, vets, and researchers are starting to think, and I completely agree, the problem could be as simple as what you're putting in your dog's bowl. And if you're like me, you might even be paying top dollar right now for your dog's food. Yet some of these chemicals used to preserve even premium pet foods are proven cancer-causing agents. Mouth cancer is actually the 4th leading cause of cancer. And I'm going to give you more on this in just a minute. But you see, I really thought what I was feeding Truman was a great brand of dog food. I'm sure you're no different. Yet now I realize I had no idea what he was really eating. And in the end, I believe Truman paid the ultimate price for my lack of knowledge. I really believe that. And that's why I made this free presentation. To keep you from making the same uninformed choices I had already made. You see, I discovered I wasn't the only misguided dog lover out there. In fact, according to a recent web survey, 4 out of 5 people could not correctly identify harmful ingredients in their dog's food. And while it's still incredibly hard for me to admit it right now, I was one of the 4 people who simply didn't know what I didn't know. Sadly, I believe this was a massive, fatal mistake for my dog Truman. And that's why I began to develop many relationships with multiple veterinarians I had to know. I also talked to several scientists over the last 3 years because I wanted answers. It still took me investing thousands of dollars on research and development to really understand and verify, that's the important part, what I wish I had understood then. Your choice really is your dog's voice. You have to choose as if their life depends on it. You have to, because it absolutely does. I'm here to tell you that it absolutely does. Today, I'm going to reveal the 3 key ingredients absolutely missing from 98% of all traditional dog food. Plus, I'm going to share with you why some experts believe these 3 super ingredients are of vital importance to your dog's health, and how they can help to promote a healthier, longer life for your dog. Those experts even suggest that your dog could live at least 3 to 5 years longer. Plus, you could potentially save $2,000 or more on unnecessary vet bills along the way, just by reducing the risk of your dog being exposed to this one ingredient. And I'll be explaining that too, so just stay with me. Today, you're also going to discover the 3 dirty secrets top insiders in the pet industry never want you to know. And while you may think you've heard it all before, I guarantee you haven't heard what's coming next. It's something that, quite frankly, I didn't believe myself. Not at first, anyway. It was the fact that a dog living 20 years or more is absolutely possible. It's true. It's in USA Today. The oldest documented dog was an Australian cattle dog named Bluey, who lived to be 29 and a half years old. And yet, same article, they referenced another dog, a collie from the Australian outback named Jerry. Jerry was discovered in 2004 who was living as an energetic and healthy 27-year-old dog. That's 189 years in human years. And according to Dr. Nelson, that was a vet who personally examined Jerry from the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, Dr. Nelson said he will be 27 years in August. I have no doubt at all he could push on to 28 going by his good body condition. That's incredible. And here's the most exciting part. Both dogs had one thing in common. They both ate something most dogs nowadays do not. Not on a regular basis anyway. Remember those 3 vital ingredients I told you about when we first met? Hint, they ate those. I'll explain in a minute. You see, even though these 2 dogs lived over 50 years apart, they both ate an alpha prey model diet, whether they knew it or not. And if you haven't heard about it before today, don't feel bad. You're not alone. When my Trumi died, I'd never even heard of it. My vet certainly didn't mention it. And that's why I'm pulling back the curtain today. Someone should have said something. Someone needs to explain why dogs and cats are not living longer and healthier lives. Now, first I have to warn you. This impression today, it's not for everybody. It's not going to be pretty. And you can tell yourself, if you want to, that it's all just a bunch of baloney. But that will be to your dog's detriment later. I promise you that. Or you can choose to listen very closely for the next few minutes while I reveal what some people in the pet industry definitely do not want you to know. That's how to read your dog's food ingredients label and understand what it really means. You see, very few people know, much less understand, just what those ingredients are that are listed on the back of the bag. Not to mention what they really look like before being transformed into your dog's food. And that's why I want to bring to your attention today what experts have known for years. What you're feeding your dog does not look like this. It really looks like this, which is what the fastest and least expensive process of making food for them looks like. And I use the term food loosely, and you're about to see why. All you're doing right now by buying some of these foods is helping the wallets of the big dogs monopolizing this industry get even fatter right along with your dog. And there's no one, I mean no one, standing guard, that's key, to uphold a standard we can all live with. Which is what I think bothered me the most, if you want to know the truth. While there is an organization who's supposed to protect your dog's nutrition, it's actually being manipulated by some very sophisticated marketers. According to Adweek in 2013, some of these big brands have ad budgets that are well over $50 million. To understand how this could happen, you need to know how the dog food biz got started in the first place. Because over 50 years ago, the pet food industry simply didn't exist. Not as you know it today anyway, and this is coming from the New York Times. They did an article and they were talking about how back then, most dogs lived on leftovers or butcher's excess, extra pieces of meat. Until 1860. Now I say 1860 because that's when an American by the name of James Pratt produced the first commercial quote-unquote dog food. It really wasn't dog food, it was just a biscuit that people fed their dogs, kind of like a treat. But he did it because he saw the boats at the dock on the water, he actually lived in Cincinnati, throwing out these biscuits to dogs, and he got the idea, hey, I should create that and manufacture it and sell it. Soon, other companies followed. Remind you, this is coming from Harvard paper that was written. It's published online. So these companies followed, causing the market to grow. When canned horse meat was created, it exploded. It went off, they started canning horse meat and feeding it to dogs. And so finally senators took notice because people were starting to complain, and they began to add other protein sources. But when metal was needed for the war, dry foods became more popular because they couldn't can the dog food. But until that point, at its peak, canned food was at 90% of the market. Can you believe that? 90% of the market. This war also caused the American diet to change, which later impacted our pets. And Dr. Ken Tudor talks about this at Pawn Nation on his article, The Forgotten History of Pet Food. Anyway, remember Spam? I know I do. My mom certainly served it. We didn't have the biggest budget either, so we had to eat Spam. But Spam was invented in the 1930s, and 65% of their sales were during the war because they were being sent to the U.S. military. Now, here's what happened. Think about what they had to do to create the Spam, okay? That's not real meat. If you've ever eaten it, it's not real meat. It's not even close. The fact that it rhymes with ham is almost criminal, okay? So in the late 50s, a major pet food company discovered a method for, kind of like what they did with Spam, for taking hot liquid soup of meat, fat, and grain scraps, okay, and injecting them through another heat process, popping the fluid into light, kibbled, dry food of any shape. Preferably one that you find appealing and one that you think looks nice because you're the one buying the food for your dog. He's not picking, okay? They called it kibble, and it did not become widely available until the 1930s, which incidentally is when cancer started going on the rise for dogs. That's right when companies producing grain-inclusive human foods finally figured out something super important. Kibble was a great way to make a profit off waste products not fit for human consumption. They had absolutely no concern for the actual nutrition value for dogs. It's just dogs, right? Which leads me to how the industry got regulated, or lack thereof, as you will soon see. During the pet food boom of the 1970s, the industry titans and the U.S. government were especially close. Again, this is according to a paper done from the Harvard University. So close, get this, the chairman of Ralston Purina, we know who that is, right? Their board of directors, his name was Earl L. Butz, effectively swapped jobs with the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, Clifford Morris Hardin. This effectively meant that the national guidelines for pet nutrition originated with Ralston Purina's own research department. That's kind of like the wolf guarding the hen house, right? Again, from the New York Times. No one seemed to mind the industry's self-regulation. More likely, no one noticed. And if they had, someone might have pointed out the very same regulations governing cattle feed or poultry feed then are also governing your dog's food now. I'm going to explain this in just a second. See, the Association of American Feed Control Officials, called AFCO, note it's feed control, not food control, was established in the early 1900s. And let me tell you the problem with that. First and foremost, according to their website, each state tries to follow their guidelines as it relates to pet food. Yet the AAFCO has no statutory authority to actually regulate the pet products. Like, they can't really punish you for not following their guidelines. And the rules being followed were created in the early 1900s when the organization was created, i.e., before commercial dog food. These regulations were meant for guiding the standards of livestock feed only. And the rules that the states are following right now were designed for the best way to rapidly fatten up the animal, which is pretty much the opposite of what you want to do for your dog's life, right? I mean, if you're like me, you're not just trying to keep your dog alive. You want your dog to thrive. Yet, since many pet food manufacturers will go to any lengths to fill their food with the cheapest sources of protein they can find, you probably won't be surprised to discover the other ingredients in dog food, they're not much better. And here's the very worst part. Honesty definitely does not seem to be the best policy. For example, many brands use photos implying they're using food-grade ingredients on the bag, while actually using feed ingredients inside the bag or can. This is referenced on the website The Truth About Pet Food. Even though there is an AAFCO guideline stating they cannot do this, clearly states a vignette, graphic, or pictorial representation on a pet food or specialty pet food label shall not misrepresent the contents of the package, right from page 137 of their own publication, many still do. Because they know you don't know the rules. Now don't worry, you're not alone in this. Very few people do. I know. Until recently, I didn't either. The same rules big brands are bending, banking on our mainstream ignorance. Let's face it, most people don't even know what to look for. Not like you do with people food anyway. For example, this bag says grilled USA beef steak flavor for a reason. The key word is flavor. If they had said what the photo implies, beef steak, then grilled steak would have to be in the bag. But it doesn't say that. It says flavor. Yet the photo makes you think there must be some grilled steak in there somewhere, right? Wrong. And when you look a little closer, it's right there for any savvy dog owner, especially one like you, to see. The only meat ingredient in this dog's food is listed as beef and bone meal. That's it. In fact, the ingredients are listed with ground yellow corn and soybean meal being above beef and bone meal. So basically, the way the label works, that means those are the two most important ingredients in this dog food, corn and soybean meal. And let's face it, at 42.5 cents a pound, do you really have to be a rocket scientist to know that's not chicken? I mean, for those of you who don't know, any Oprahs out there maybe, while you can get the cheapest chicken out there is about $1.50 a pound, some people like shop at Whole Foods are getting boneless, skinless, organic chicken breasts for about $8.99 a pound. Okay? There's no chicken out there that's 42.5 cents. So how is that even possible? Many times it's because the actual meat content is only 3%. And that's dirty secret number one. It's what I call the 3% rule. According to FDA and the AAFCO labeling guidelines, which you can find at the FDA's website, if the name of the food includes the phrase with ingredient, like with beef, with chicken, with lamb, that named ingredient must not be less than 3% of the total weight. So in other words, a dog food manufacturer could have a label that says Aunt Susie's Wholesome Stew with lamb, and as long as the lamb is 3% of the ingredients by weight, they are following the rules. Really? 3%. You don't find that a tad bit deceptive? Think about it this way. If a traditional dry cup of dog food on average weighs 3.21 ounces, with the 3% rule applied, that means if you give your dog 1 cup of that dog food, it would only have 0.09% meat in it. So what about the other 99.1%? Well, it can vary. And let me tell you why that's so scary. Have you ever heard of 4D animals? It stands for dead, dying, deceased, and or disabled animals. And there are no laws, no regulations, not one guideline, nothing saying 4D animals cannot be added to your dog's food. That's dirty secret number 2. Even on bags labeled premium or gourmet. Just wait until we get to that part. You just wait. This again comes from the FDA website. Now, some people will still argue no one has been able to prove a big brand did or does this. Even though past AFA-FCO President Hirsch Pendel admits it can happen on camera. Listen to this.
These are Holsteins here. Hirsch Pendel is the current president of the Association of Feed Control Officials, a group made up of North American agriculture and animal feed specialists. AFCO writes ingredient definitions and suggests nutritional guidelines for pet food makers. Pet food industry. Pendel says he's not aware of any written law or regulation at any level, specifically prohibiting the use of rendered products which contain dead cats and dogs.
Aesthetically, it may not be acceptable, but nutritionally, it's still protein.
Can we tell what's in pet food just by looking at the label?
There's no way to really tell that because if the ingredient says meat and bone meal, you don't know if that's cattle or sheep or horse or fluffy.
I think that's horrifying. According to Natural News, these meats that he's referring to are usually condemned in whole or part for human consumption. Okay? The parts, this is what really bothered me. It's not so much that it's not things we don't want to eat, but it's things that I don't think anyone should eat. Out-of-date supermarket meats, including their plastic wrappers, cut away cancerous tissue, and fetal tissue, which is very high in hormones. And this comes from a Natural News site that has over 7 million readers. And the FDA certainly does not deny it. They actually, this is the disturbing part, have guidelines allowing it. You see here on their guideline from their website, 675.400, where they talk about all the nasty ingredients they will allow to be in the food. If you go to their website and look up 675.100, that rule, what it says is the FDA does not object to the diversion to animal feed, which is your dog's food, of human food adulterated, meaning it has it, with rodent, roach, or bird excreta. Really? Goes on to 675.200 and talks about the different kinds of foods that we're talking about here, the ones that they allow in there. And they talk about industrial chemicals and natural toxicants, filth, microbiological contamination. It's just unbelievable to me. At one point, they had so many rumors that people were saying that the rendered byproducts contained dead dogs and cats that the FDA decided to conduct a study looking for the drug they use to euthanize your dogs. And they found it. They found it in the dog's food. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean anything, because if you're like me, a real dog lover at this point, you should just be thinking, regardless of this being true, of being in my dog's food or not, regardless if that's ever happened, the fact that there are specific guidelines allowing diseased animals or pesticide-laden foods to be approved dog food ingredients, massive health risk in my opinion, is absolutely disgusting and 100% unacceptable. Sadly, it gets worse. The dirty secret number 3, commercially made food labeled premium, gourmet, and all natural can be just as toxic as the regular brands of dog food. The bottom line, they can legally contain the exact same ingredients as cheaper brands of dog food. In fact, the FDA makes it abundantly clear anybody can label their food however they want. Clearly stating, from their website, products labeled as premium or gourmet are not required to contain any different or higher quality ingredients, nor are they held up to any higher nutritional standards than are any other complete and balanced products. I mean, seriously? I'm sorry, it's crazy to me that that's the case. What's being included in these types of products is not what you expect when reading words like premium, right? For example, one of the most powerful and toxic preservatives in your dog's food is called ethoxyquin. This deadly preservative is what allows pet stores to keep your dog's food on the shelf for up to 2 years before having to sell it to you, which makes it convenient for you, true, and again, very profitable for the pet companies, but it's pretty disastrous for your dog's health. And this is coming from the WholeDogJournal.com site, which I think is a phenomenal resource of information. It's been linked to cancers, severe allergies, and even a full immune system collapse. And while no, you won't find it on your dog's label, you won't, sadly, that doesn't mean it's not in there. And that's loophole number 1. It can be added before they receive the rest of what I call filth to create your dog's food. So it's just one reason why Dr. Alfred Plushner, a world-famous veterinarian, says long-term effects of commercial diet is that dogs become biochemical cripples. That's the word, cripples, with no resistance to disease. Research has proven dogs being fed this way can experience all these different types of reactions with kidney cancer, bladder cancer, chronic diarrhea, spleen cancer, leukemia, all kinds of things, hair loss, it goes on and on. Shockingly, there is nothing you can do about any of this except not buy it. There is a safer solution, one I'm going to reveal right now, and the bottom line is it's based on the fact that your dog has a system specifically designed by Mother Nature to digest meat. It's the number 1 ingredient missing from most dog food today. Just ask the other experts, including the dog food advisor, who says that wolves and dogs are what experts call opportunistic carnivores. This means they thrive by eating other animals. Yet to stay alive, they will and can eat fruits, vegetables, grains, grasses, and even rotting garbage. And contrary to popular myth, wolves do not eat the stomach contents of their prey. You hear a lot of people say that, which contains what? If you guessed grains, fruits, nuts, and berries, you'd be right. According to David Meck, an American wolf expert who's written 10 books on the subject. He's also a senior research scientist for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. He says the vegetation in the intestinal tract is of no interest to the wolves, but the stomach lining and the intestinal wall are consumed and their contents further strewn about the kill site. He goes on to say to grow and maintain their own bodies, wolves need to ingest all the major parts of their herbivorous prey except the plants in the digestive system. This is supported by the analysis of what a wolf eats in the wild. 56% protein, 14% carbohydrates. Now check this out. That's a far cry from today's commercial dog food, with 18% on the low end of protein and 74% on the high end for carbohydrates. Science has proven there's a wolf hiding inside your dog. That's why I'm talking about the way wolves eat. It's true. From a biological point of view, scientists have proven your dog's digestive system is almost identical to that of a wild animal. It contains special enzymes and good bacteria which breaks down raw meat in a way that you as a human can't do. Remember those two dogs, Bluey and Jerry, who I told you about when we first met? They both lived to be in their late 20s. They both ate this type of diet. Whether they meant to or not, they did. Bluey lived before the advent of kibble, dying in 1936. And Jerry ate mostly kangaroo meat, according to his dad, who was interviewed in that article. Now, I'm not suggesting you go out and teach your dog to hunt or deal with the mess and trouble of fixing a raw meat dinner for your dog. That actually requires a lot of know-how and determination. And if you're like me, I have 5 kids, you're looking for a more convenient and correct solution. It's just not easy to get the right mix of nutrients when you do it yourself. Trust me, I know because I tried. I also know after all this proof, no savvy dog lover could keep feeding their dog cooked kibble. Your dog is counting on you to get it right. And I can help you do that right now. After discovering just how poorly commercial dog food was really made, I assembled a world-class team of scientists and pioneers in the field of raw dog food to create what thousands of people in all 50 states already consider to be truly the best food on the planet for your dog. It's called TruDog. Now, I don't know if you remember my dog's name that died in 2009, but his name was Truman. And I actually created this company and this dog food in his honor. It's endorsed by vets like Dr. Jan Hale, who for the past 33 years has been a world-renowned pioneer in pet health. And this is what he has to say about TruDog. TruDog provides a natural source of essential vitamins, minerals, fats, and amino acids that are so important in developing and maintaining a healthy body where all the systems work and balance with each other. I'm also proud to say that we quickly received the coveted 5-star rating from the Dog Food Advisor. TruDog contains 0 grains, 0 fillers, 0 added preservatives, 0 artificial anything. And while other companies might make some of these claims, these same pet food companies have also begun shifting from the grain and corn fillers to what I call a more politically correct option, which is the loophole alert number 2. Adding things like fruits and vegetables into the mix to fill up the bag, aka fillers. Even if they're sexy vegetables, they're fillers. Plus, those vegetables are not fresh vegetables like you see in the grocery store. They're pretty much the exact opposite. Anyway, they put carrots and cranberries and various other vegetables horses might love. Well, I guess it would seem beets have become the new meat. And somehow, they've been able to convince you it's okay to pay more for it. Yet if you're a smart shopper like me, by now I hope you're thinking, well, I want to add vegetables to my dog's dinner, I'll do it my damn self. I certainly know I don't want to pay a premium for them. So while vegetables aren't necessarily bad for your dog, they certainly don't have the same effect for dogs as they do for you. Now, I'm not suggesting you never feed your dog cranberries, pumpkin, or other vegetable-based fillers. If you want to add some vegetables to your dog's dinner, that's fine. However, why would you want to pay a premium for a dog food filled with low-quality vegetables when you could give them TruDog? A freeze-dried raw dog food packed with premium protein, TruDog is a perfectly put together recipe of vital organs and raw meat, complete with both the bone marrow and the blood. I know, sounds gross to me too, but those are the 3 things your dog needs to survive. And if your dog's food does not include this vital organ mix, plus all the right essential fats and oils, it's not really dog food. At best, it's a snack, cereal, bag of chips. Having this mix of proteins, minerals, and fats is of vital importance. Talked about this in the beginning. These are the ingredients your dog has to have, especially when you want your dog's system to function properly. The good news is the benefits of a raw diet for your dog are real, and they're super easy to see. They're high in zinc and supporting your immune system health so your dog can easily fight off infections, virus, and other ailments. Plus, it's actually really naturally high in iron, which helps carry the oxygen through the bloodstream to all the cells in the body, helping him to resist these diseases like cancer, injuries, and other symptoms of old age. TruDog gives your dog what nature intended and what your dog would choose by instinct. Formulated from a named animal source, beef, made in the United States, vet approved, all that good stuff. Most importantly, especially for those of you with dogs weighing 25 pounds or under, to my knowledge, we are the only mini niblet-sized freeze-dried raw dog food on the planet. All the other brands who make freeze-dried raw dog food do so in the form of large nuggets or even larger patties. And while that might work for bigger dogs, our mini nibs, that's what we call them, they're safe for and loved by any size dog. All of our meats, poultry, and game are purchased through local Wisconsin farms. The cattle are grass-fed and free-ranging. They're raised both antibiotic and steroid-free with no added hormones. And we use a proprietary process to protect our protein so you know it's fresh. I'll circle back to this in a second. Super important. But after being harvested, it's then flash frozen in a USDA certified plant where we lock in the goodness of the all-natural nutrients. And this proprietary process gets your meat in the bag in 72 hours or less from the time of harvest to the point it gets in the bag. And no one else out there can guarantee that level of freshness because we basically have a parking lot that keeps our plant and our packaging facilities separate from each other. So it's a drive across the parking lot. In addition, every bag of TruDog is packaged for the ultimate protection of the protein. Packaged in bags that are foil lined and nitrogen flushed. Basically, that just means we suck the oxygen out so nothing else spoils. You get 100% fresh, perfectly kept food in every single bag. Basically, kind of looks like this. Take the meat, we put it into the freezer, and then we send it over, put it in the package, and it comes out to you. The cool thing about our food is that we do ask you to add water to it because we've taken all the moisture out, but because there's no fillers in it, it doesn't get soft or gooey. It just stays crunchy. And my dogs lick the bowls clean. Like they drink all the water out of it too. You know, they don't leave it in there like the kids do the cereal. They actually eat it and then drink all of the water in the bowl. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, this process is one of the safest and freshest ways to prepare and protect the protein source. Plus, we do not use vegetables as fillers like 98% of the other dog foods on the market. Just listen to a few things our raving fans have to say about TruDog. We have BL Board from Illinois. She said, before I started using Feed Me, my Doxy was itching and scratching constantly. She was eating another brand, and I believe it was all the fillers and grains she was probably allergic to. This is the best dog food, and she loves it. Then we have Barbara from North Carolina who said, I've bought several bags of this freeze-dried dog food and use it as a topper on my finicky eater. She gobbles up all of her food now. Of course, she eats the TruDog kibbles first. Well, I'd hope so. Rico, our terrier mix, loves the food. When he sees me with the bag, he gets so excited and dances around on his hind legs waiting for it. So he highly recommends it. Feeding your dog a raw dog food diet means you could notice a dramatic decrease in both shedding, and the odor that lingers on your hands after you pet your dog will also be diminished. Another wonderful benefit of feeding raw is dental health. Dogs that are fed raw have been reported to have fresher breath, and raw food is also very easy on their body, which can help promote some food allergies to diminish. Now, some raw diet dog parents have reported a reduced stool volume by up to 50%, which is pretty amazing. This means there's less poop for you to clean up on walks. All these benefits are part of what we call the TruDog Trifecta. And some of our happiest customers were very skeptical before trying it out. After all, it's obviously more expensive than what you'll pay at the grocery store for other dog food. And that's why we do something that not a single other freeze-dried raw dog food company does. We cut out the guy in the middle. You heard me right. You get to buy from us directly. This means you don't have to drive to a store and pay an inflated price of $36.95 or higher, not when you click on the button below. By clicking on the button below, you can get TruDog today for as low as $22 a bag. It comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee, and you're saving almost 48% risk-free. We're able to give you this great offer on a top-quality food like TruDog because we're a small family-owned company. And that means even though we don't have big multi-million-dollar ad budgets to blow, so big I can barely even say it, we do have some marketing dollars and we get to spend them exactly how we see fit. I love that part. So we've decided to use our dollars in what we think is a much smarter way. Instead of wasting our money on ads you won't watch, we decided to give awesome discounts and crazy promotional offers directly to you. Who doesn't remember the infamous penny bag? Those went really fast, just like these will today. Where else can you save up to 48% off a top shelf bag of awesome freeze-dried raw dog food endorsed by 3 vets, backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee? In return, all we ask is that you help us spread the word, please. We will even reward you to do that too, in addition to the awesome discount you'll get when you click the button below. So here's the deal. I think by now you've figured out comparing our freeze-dried raw beef to a commercially cooked kibble, well, that's sort of like comparing drive-through French fries to a 5-star fancy steak. They're not even in the same category. And you know as well as I do, you pretty much get what you pay for, especially nowadays. That's why we're going to give you the best possible deal we can today. Because we want you to feed your dog the best way you can for a price you can afford. A bag of TruDog retails right now for $36.95 plus shipping and handling of $4.95. Today, you can get TruDog for the ridiculously low price of just $22 per bag, saving almost 48%. It's risk-free, free shipping, 60-day money-back guarantee. I can't do any better than that. And we wouldn't sell it to Walmart for less. Just click the button below and make your choice. And know this, when you're part of the TruDog family, you get one more super important thing. Because we want to get our product out in the paws of as many dogs as possible, we are providing these free presentations in the hopes you will share them with other dog lovers, with your friends, with your family, people you care about. And when you do, we will reward you. Because we know we can't beat out big brand ad budgets without your help. We reward happy friends and customers like you who are willing to spread the word to help us help more dogs. Just click on the button below to get your bag and we'll send your personal friends and family link directly to you. This is a fact. We will actually give you $10 for every single friend you refer to us. That's right. Send us 5 new customers and you may never have to pay for dog food again. Remember, TruDog can get your dog on the path to living the longest and best life possible. Your choice is their voice. Love your dog's life. And remember, any food you choose to give your dog should be higher in meat-based protein, like TruDog, higher in natural fats and oils, like TruDog, low or free of carbohydrates, like TruDog, free of animal or vegetable byproducts, say it with me, like TruDog, free of artificial flavoring, coloring, or preservatives, can I get an amen, like TruDog, complete in all essential vitamins and minerals, again, like TruDog. And as Krista from Missouri, a very happy TruDog customer says about her 2 Maltese, it's cheaper than what I'll pay later if I don't care of them the right way today. And as my son would say, true. Don't just add years to your dog's life, add life to your dog's years. And today, you can save up to 48% on TruDog when you click on the button below now, all backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee.